You have to decide whether you can accept it.
Yes. So I do an intake with you. I ask you some questions, get some
That's not
additional
what I was
information.
told.
Okay, what were you told
That
about our
I would get.
process?
Okay, so now there's a accept. So you have, because like I told the representative the other day that I have there's been schemes to sabotage my assistance for legal to get the because there's powerful people that racked up felonies to keep me away from my daughter. So each year or each avenue that I take to have access to my child is sabotaged. So these people won't get the felony charges they've racked up because they did not follow the family code with their actions.
Okay.
So now no
Okay.
one
So
said anything about being able to be approved for services. Each direction I go, I'm never approved if I'm not being pushed and shoved and forced to leave trying to get services.
okay. So I understand what you're saying. So I'm just explaining our process. So for anyone who calls legal aid, this is the process they go through. So they
That's not what
call
they
us, we
said
do an
last time.
intake.
Last
An
time they said
intake
that they
just
would have
entails
an.
me getting that information from you so I can understand what's going on with your case.
Okay,
And then
well,
I take that information and I present it to our committee who decides if we can accept it.
okay, well, last time when I talked to someone and they said that they were going to send it over to the attorney, they said nothing about an approval process. Then they said they couldn't reach me, but they reached me for the other program. It was the same number. So they reached me for trying to get some things expunged off my record.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to reach me for that, but they weren't able to reach me for the things going on with my daughter. Someone has been enforcing those crimes on keeping me away from my daughter for years. So he don't want me to open up any avenues of anybody digging into crimes that were committed to keep me away from my child. No one wants those felony charges they've racked up. So crimes are being committed, so not open up any investigation on those crimes that were overlooked. But anyway,
All
okay,
right.
let's see
So
how this goes, ma'am.
yeah. So I can get all the
She's
information
now
from you, and
14.
that's
She
part of
witnessed
the
my
process
false
as
arrest at
well.
age
So
8. She's
I'm
witnessed my
sorry.
false arrest at age 8, screaming in terror. She's now 14. That's how long games have been played. And how long people have been
So
denying me legal
I'm not
advocacy,
trying
trying to
to
pay an
play.
attorney.
I'm not trying to play any games with you, Ms. Clark. I just want to know if, so that I can get all the information about what's been going on for the past several years. I just have to conduct an intake with you.
Yeah, they didn't say that. I've already spoke with an attorney, and then they've already did an appointment, and then they said that to move further, they couldn't get a hold of me. No one said anything about an approval process. This is new.
So would you like to continue the
Yes, I
process
have
this
no other
morning,
choice.
or
I have no other choice, ma'am. I've been excluded, and
okay?
I'll catch 22 years, ma'am.
Okay, so you do want to complete the intake.
Right. I've
Okay,
already done this,
so
and they
we're gonna
didn't say anything about approval process. But go ahead, ma'am.
yeah. So there is an approval process. So once I do the intake with you, I'll present your case to our staffing committee, and our staffing committee will decide if we can accept your case, and then we'll notify you if we accept your case at that point.
Why do you have to accept it? If there you file, why is it why don't you just help people when there's a custody issue? Why is there an approval process?
Because we can't accept all applicants. So we have hundreds and thousands of people who apply for our services, and there's only a certain number of attorneys. And so for each case, once you apply, we get the information from you. We decide if it meets our priorities based on our federal grants and the people who, the people who provide grant money to fund us. We have to meet certain priorities. So we can't accept every case that comes through our door. It's just impossible. And so we have this process where we present every case to our
Well,
committee
ma'am,
who
I
makes
haven't
a
been
decision
accepted.
going.
If I would have wasn't getting pushed and shoved, if it's going to law firms that weren't denying me representation, ma'am, I just want people to rake up the charges they've earned. Okay, ma'am, let's see how this goes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So again, so you understand our process. So kind of tell me, it's a custody issue. So just kind of tell me what's going on, the felony charges you're talking about. How old is the child first? Let me get that
She's
information.
now 14.
Let me make sure. Give me just a second.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So tell me what's going on. How you currently don't have custody of Michaela. Kind of tell me what's happened.
Okay, so Michaela witnessed my false arrest screaming in terror at age 8. She saw the police arresting her mom for profit. They lied, said I assaulted them, evaded arrest because they got paid to arrest me. Ever since then, people have been making false statements. First, CPS made false statements, and a teacher from Itasca tried to set me up and made false statements. When they got caught in the false statements in the scheme, they got made. It was evidence that they had made false statements. I caught them in lies, and when they got caught in lies, they disappeared. The family court let them disappear off the docket, so they wouldn't get their felony charges. Because it was obvious that they had made these false statements. They got caught in lies. So the family court. I'm sorry.
Against you. What false statements did they make against
They
you?
said that
So
they said that I was neglecting her, but there was no way that anyone could have known that I was neglecting her because they weren't around. So they said that I was neglecting her and other different things. They also said that I was leaving her home alone. But the way that they were saying the putting things together, it was no way that they would have known these things. So it was proof that it was false statements. But the evidence still is that they disappeared off the docket. The teachers that was making false statements and the CPS worker. So the CPS worker,
so CPS removed Michaela.
they did, but when they got caught in lies, they disappeared off the docket. He disappeared. His name was James Hastings, and the teacher, so they wouldn't get their felony charges.
Okay.
So CPS disappeared.
When was she removed from your custody? When was
Um,
Michaela removed from custody?
See, here's the thing. This is what they did. So they were trying to set me up when they know my kids are really important to me. So they were trying to take them away. They were building up lies while I was in jail on false charges. So they were building up all these lies out of malice because I ended an online relationship with a stalker. Okay, so he had the false arrest set up, and he was trying to set up to take my kids away. So they were building up all these lies while I was in jail. He was trying to hurry up and take my kids away, but so they had a mountain full of lies that they were getting caught in because they were saying that I did all this neglect and no one would have known about it. Then when they realized that what they were doing didn't make sense, they disappeared. So here's the problem: they said that Dad did it, but Dad didn't do it. Dad is saying that the CPS worker. But anyway, to make a long story short, Dad they had put Dad up to. He's like had a heart attack and is like special needs. So they put Dad up to going up to the court and saying that I was neglected her. But I have the Dad recorded saying that he didn't. He don't know of any neglect that I've done. Which I had the basketball team over for my sons. We had sleepovers. We volunteered at church. We went to SeaWorld multiple times. We went to festivals. We were very active in the community with Easter egg hunting, carved pumpkins. Yeah, all you would they one would have to do is a proper investigation, and they would know that we're really active in the community. Went to look at Christmas lights. Had did all kinds of things together. Went swimming,
So,
fishing.
so these people concocted the scheme against you. Is this why you were? Is this why you went to jail, or did you go to jail after?
No. When I ended the online relationship, a false arrest was set up, and I went to jail immediately after I ended the online relationship. Just about, they lied and said I assaulted them and evaded arrest, and then they wanted to hurry up and take my child custody rights away for punishment too. And they have been getting away with this madness all that time. She was 8 and now 14, and they're taking advantage of my financial situation and keeping me from legal representation. Even when I try to pay an attorney, it's problems. They won't represent me. And then they push and shove me when I go to legal representation. Well, I'm just telling you about with legal. When in person at George Allen, I tried to get legal representation. They forced me to leave. And I tried to get legal at Frank Crowley. It was problems there trying to get legal. And then all the legal aides, I call on my phone. make catch-22s and deny me legal. I went to Waco trying to get legal, problems there. I went to Tyler trying to get legal, problems there. I think someone is sabotaging my ability to get help. And I thought conspiracy to violate rights isn't that a crime? You're an attorney. If someone is abusing power and having all these places not help me, is that criminal?
I'm not a criminal law attorney. I practice family law, but I do all of these people know you? I mean, if you're going to different cities, I find it a little hard to believe that these people from other cities and counties know what's going on in your case to just deny you representation.
I think someone is that would be evidence of stalking and someone monitoring me and surveillancing me. So if all the counties are sabotaging my ability to get assistance, then that's evidence that someone's stalking or monitoring, surveillancing me to be able to intercept any help.
People are surveilling you?
I do believe so, because why would they come remove me, pushing and shoving me, and make me leave so many times? I did state that they've made me leave, pushing and shoving me, interrupting services. How would they know to repetitively keep doing that?
That's a question. That's a good question.
Yeah, I do have it recorded multiple times where they've pushed and shoved. I've been drug out of a church and thrown on concrete. So if for them to know to come interrupt and then blame it on the place that I'm at, police to come interrupt and then blame it on the location I'm at, they're monitoring me. And these are crooked people that are monitoring me, abusing power or racking up felonies. You just can't monitor someone because you have committed crimes and you don't want those exposed. That's still criminal. You abusing law enforcement strategies to monitor someone so that you don't get your felony charges is sick. And even sicker to get away with it so many years and nothing's done. And then each location I call on my phone for years is denying me assistance, have a scam to where they can't help, so these powerful people don't get their felony charges. If people that have lower incomes can get their felonies, why can't powerful people get their felonies? It shouldn't be catch-22s, or a felony is a felony, no matter who is committing it.
So where's Michaela now? Who does she live with?
She's with her dad, but so the thing of it is that the false statements that are easily made. I did not go to court. Period. A judge that I never met, Mary Murphy, supposedly took the child custody rights away. It's very obvious. They said that there was neglect, but no one has ever told me what the neglect was. They have never set up a plan for me to get my child custody rights, or never set up anything for me to do to have access to her. They put me on supervised visits, and $60 an hour was what I was told. And at first, they wouldn't even give me those. The supervised visits, not even trying to pay. And I'm still trying to get go through hoops to get the supervised visits. But that's $60 an hour, $120 for 2 hours. And I'm on a fixed income.
When was the order finalized regarding custody and visitation?
Mary Murphy did that, a judge that I never met, and then the court would not let me know where she's located. She did that August 2nd, 2019. Judge Mary Murphy that I've never met.
Was that in Tarrant County or a different county?
That was in Dallas County. And I thought that with the family codes that we would need more interaction before you terminate a parent's child custody rights. And why would she terminate someone's right? Yes, they claimed that they were, and I've never met the judge. And she terminated child custody rights with no CPS investigation. She didn't follow the family code. I'm sorry?
Did you attend any court hearings at all?
I attended one with Kim Cooks, and I told Kim Cooks that their false statements were made. No, I did not neglect my child. I didn't have access to my child when they said that it was possible neglect, because my daughter and I lived in a house together and alone, and we were kind of isolated in the community, so there was no witnesses to any neglect, and she wasn't being neglected, but there were no witnesses. So no one could have called it neglect because, so that was a blatant lie. So anyway, to make a long story short, I didn't have access to my child, and they drummed up um, neglect when I didn't have access to her. So how can I neglect her if I didn't have access to her? And I told Kim Cooks that. I said if I haven't had
So
access to her for a year, how is it neglect? I'm sorry.
What do you mean you didn't have access to her?
Okay, so I went to jail on the false charges. They tried to hurry up and do in out of corruption and take my child custody rights out of malice. Someone was trying to hurt me. Okay, so they were getting caught in lies, so they kept on trying to change their strategy to take my child custody rights away. They had already did it with my son. First, they tried to use a CPS worker and a teacher, and when they incriminated themselves too bad, they removed them from the experience, and they disappeared off the docket and out of the experience altogether, so they wouldn't get their felony. So then they changed their strategy. So then they changed their strategy
because you
to
were incarcerated, you neglected the child. Is that kind of what happened?
no, the reason why they're ignoring it is because it doesn't make sense what they're saying. So then the strategy was that I neglected her, but they from 2018 to 2019 I did not have her. So the time that I did not have her is when they said that I neglected her. They have never told me what the neglect was. They did not get a plan together so I could, do certain things to get access to her again. You can tell they didn't follow the family code. They didn't do a CPS investigation to see if there was neglect. You can tell there's corruption. So that's why they have all these organizations.
Did you have a court-appointed attorney through all of this?
No, they denied me a court-appointed attorney out of corruption. And I thought in Texas with the family code, if there was child custody was at stake, that they had to give you a court-appointed attorney. Is that correct?
So they only have to give you a court-appointed attorney if they're terminating your rights.
Right.
And if you're saying your rights were terminated
right.
by CPS, then the court had to appoint an attorney to represent.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't follow the family code. That's why they're telling all these.
So when you attended that hearing, who was present with you at that hearing?
I kept asking them to give me an attorney. They wouldn't. No attorney would touch this case with a 10-foot pole because there's felonies written all over it. That's why they keep intercepting any person in legal to represent me and having them deny me services, even when I try to pay them. That's why they keep coming, pushing and shoving me, because they don't want these powerful people to get their felonies. And then why they pretended like they couldn't get through on my phone, so then they can have whoever calls me to say, no, we like everybody else in legal, I didn't qualify for legal, so people don't get their felony charges.
Well, I can't speak for other organizations, but that's not how we do it here in legal aid. So again, I mean, we have a process, we follow our process.
Well, they didn't follow it last time when they said they couldn't get through, and they got through for the other legal aid, and how I've fallen through the cracks 5 years plus. I told you how many locations I went to, and how I was pushed and shoved and forced to leave at locations, and how multiple different locations lied to me about legal. No, it's serious. It's very legal. It's very serious. They don't want these people getting these felony charges they racked up.
Okay, so when was the last time you saw Michaela?
It's 2022, but I only see her for a few minutes. I saw her for a few minutes, giving her money and different gifts. I would say that in 5-6 years, I may have seen her for a total of 3 hours.
Okay. And at this point, are you trying to reinstate your parental rights?
Right. I mean, these are felonies. I did not. False statements were made. I thought making false statements to a family court was a state jail felony, and to CPS.
What did they charge you with?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
You said you went to jail, so I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, they lied and said I assaulted the officer. They lied and said I assaulted. They lied and said I assaulted the officer and evaded arrest. No.
Anything going on like that with her?
No. So this is completely different from what I was told prior. Prior, there was no if you qualify. They told me that they would assign an attorney for my case. Now the story has completely changed now that they couldn't get a hold of me. They claimed that they called me multiple different times and I did not get the. I'm just telling you what I was told, ma'am. Can I tell you what I was told?
Yeah,
I just want to tell you what I was told, if that's okay. If it's okay, I want to tell you what I was told.
You can tell me what you're told, but I'm just telling you that's not our process, so I don't know.
Okay, I was told that they were going to assign an attorney to the case.
And they assigned me. Yes, they assigned me to do the.
No, that's not what I was told prior. If it's okay if you let me finish for me to tell you what I was told.
Go ahead.
They told me that they were going to assign an attorney to the case. And they set an appointment, and they claimed that they could never get through, and I never got the call, and they said that my voicemail was full, and it was not, and they couldn't leave a message. So out of all this time, they called me with another thing, and they got through then, but they couldn't get through with my daughter. No one has been able to get through trying to pay an attorney. So anyway, to make a long story short, so then they said that I didn't answer the phone, so we needed to set up another appointment, and now it's completely changed. Now there's an approval process. There was an approval process in the past. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that someone told you that because that's wrong. That's not our process. That's never been our process. For any intake that comes to our office, this is the process. You call, you tell the person what's going on in your case. They assign it to an attorney who does an intake with you. The intake process is the time that we get the information we need to decide if we can accept your case. Because if we don't know the facts of your case, then we can't just represent you. We have to know.
I've already done this. Don't it show that I've already talked to an attorney?
I'm sorry?
Don't it show that I already talked to an attorney?
No, it does not show that you talked to an attorney. It shows that we made several attempts to contact you. It shows that you did seek assistance with a guardianship issue, and then someone referred you to a family law attorney. They tried to contact you. We got some additional information regarding names and addresses. It shows that they tried to contact you, couldn't get in contact with you. They called, left messages several times. That's pretty much.
They called and left messages?
Yeah.
I don't have any messages.
Yes.
I don't have any messages, ma'am.
It says
I just want people to rack up the felony charges they've earned, ma'am, for games all these years.
To leave a message. It says the mailbox was full, not able to leave a message. That was on 10/17. And then they called again on 10/24. Several times the mailbox was full. They called again on 11/9, I guess is when you wanted to reschedule. And you did an intake. You called the intake line, updated the phone number. So we updated that information, and then I was assigned the case to do the intake for you.
Okay, ma'am. I just hope that if someone just does something about this. Like I said, she witnessed my false arrest screaming in terror. They have been lying all this time. I'm missing out on precious time with my daughter. No one has a right to take, strip me of my child and strip my child of her mother for profit. This has went on long enough, and intercepting any legal advocacy or any support altogether for all these years is sick, and something needs to be done. So let's see how it goes, ma'am, because like I said, I've been pushed and shoved in person at multiple locations, given criminal trespasses, mistreated, violated. So let's see what happens now. Because in the past, no, legal has been intercepted in person and on the phone.
Okay. All right. Are you a military veteran?
No.
Okay. And let's see. Is your child's father a military veteran?
No. Can you tell me what is the procedure that should have been followed? And what I can do if you're not able to represent me? What I can do?
What procedure? What do you mean?
Because
What do you mean, what
I
procedure?
didn't go to court. CPS didn't do an investigation, and my rights were supposedly terminated. What was supposed to be the procedure?
So that's a difficult question without knowing what happened in your case and without looking at all the
I told
proceedings that
you
were
that
filed.
I wasn't allowed to go to court. Um, Mary Murphy terminated my child custody rights when I wasn't at court. I've never met her, and we can't find her.
That's what I'm saying.
With no CPS investigation. They said it was neglect. They never told me what the neglect was. And they never told me when the
but
neglect was.
in order for CPS to terminate your rights, there has to be an investigation. There has to be an investigation. They have to go through the legal process to terminate your rights.
They didn't.
Which means getting the courts involved, getting you an attorney. They have hearings throughout the process. And so that you're telling me none of that happened. That's not how the process works.
That's the problem.
For me to say what that process should have looked like because you're saying none of that happened.
Right, and that's why they won't let me get legal advocacy because it didn't happen. That's why they keep intercepting legal advocacy and all legal aid and attorneys and all kinds of different things, knowing that people would never believe that someone is going through those lengths, keeping me from legal advocacy, having organization after organization lie and deny me services and assistance, and even when I try to pay, have them deny me representation. This has went on 5 years plus. No place will represent me or give me legal aid. Because all they are doing is just surveillancing me, monitoring me, and intercepting it. Just like those calls that I didn't get.
I don't know how. I don't know the answer.
Well, hopefully an investigator can figure it out. All one would need to do is an investigation. It's not hard to see. Or is someone legitimately trying to represent me? Does it really take 5 years plus and all these avenues I'm taking for legal representation for me to consistently get it denied? I got it approved.
I can't speak to why other attorneys would take the case or other organizations. I can only speak to legal aid's process and what our process looks like. So, yeah, that's. I don't know if I can answer your question.
Okay, so what do I do that they didn't follow the family code and people have racked up felonies with no consequences? And they didn't give me an attorney, didn't do a CPS investigation. And like I said, my daughter was 8. She's now 14 with these games and felonies. And so what do? I guess I just wait to see if you guys are going to represent me.
Yeah, so that's part of our process. I mean, you can continue to contact other attorneys or organizations like you've been doing. That's really all you can do. You're doing the right thing and trying to get an attorney.
Well, it's not going to do any good if someone's just intercepting all of my avenues to get help. We need to get charges for the people that's sabotaging my ability for help.
I don't know if people are intercepting. I don't know how people would intercept it. Like legal aid doesn't know you, so there would be no way for anyone to intercept.
No, ma'am. When I have at locations, security and police have came pushing and shoving and forcing me to leave. So would you think that would be if that security comes and pushes and shoves you or threats of security when you're trying to get help? What would you? Can you imagine how that would feel if you're at locations and security or police push and shove you or force you to leave while you're trying to get help? Even at church?
Yes, but is there a reason they showed up?
Yeah, they're crooked and they don't want me getting help. They have the power to abuse, so they abuse it. And they haven't had consequences for it.
That's what we do. We're here to help individuals who need legal representation. That's what we do.
Okay, well, we'll see how this goes, ma'am.
So, I'm sorry?
I will see. I apologize, but I mean, just all these catch-22s. I was told something entirely different, and all this time I've spent, and now it's different that I have to qualify. I wasn't told that. I apologize. And I haven't qualified. So I'm just afraid that it's going to be like it has been.
Who told you that or who would have told you that? That's not our process. So I apologize.
When it comes to my daughter, there's no game that they are enforcing that I have nothing to do with my child.
terminates your rights?
I think I do have a copy,
Okay.
but I don't know. They won't tell me what the neglect is. They don't have their lie straight, and they won't tell me the date of the neglect, what the neglect is. They didn't give me a outline, a guideline of what to do to get my rights back. They won't even let me know where
Okay.
Mary Murphy is, the judge that terminated my rights. So I'd like to know what their lie is. They didn't present anything to me. And like I said, they didn't give me an attorney, which I thought in the state of Texas, if your child custody rights were terminated, you had to have legal representation. They didn't do it.
Okay.
And then they let this, like I said, I thought in that charges to let someone disappear off the docket, the teacher and the CPS worker. How do I get these people their charges for allowing all
Well,
this chaos?
those are criminal charges you'd have to pursue, or civil charges. But you need a cause of action. But the DA's office handles criminal charges. So you could absolutely present this information to the DA's office, the district attorney's office, and see if they're willing to pursue criminal charges. That's not something you can do through a family law case.
I've already contacted the DA. They cover for it.
So, okay, so that would be the avenue to take to get criminal charges filed against the person. Okay.
Okay.
So throughout this process, were there any allegations of drug use or alcohol abuse?
No.
Any of those issues
No.
come up?
No.
Okay.
They haven't told me what the neglect was either.
Okay.
And like I said, the time frame the neglect happened was when I didn't have her. And they just keep on ducking and dodging me and ignoring all the reports I'm making because I'm reporting that this doesn't make sense. I reported, and when I go to CPS, the police come interrupt that and give me a criminal trespass.
Gotcha. Okay, so do you or your child's father, let's see, does he have a criminal history as well, your child's father?
I'm not quite sure what kind of history he has.
Okay.
My history is a lot of false arrests. I wouldn't say that I have an extensive criminal history. I have a lot of false arrests and a lot of hospitalizations. A lot of hospitalizations due to corruption. And then I did go. I got sick of them blacklisting me from shelter. So I realized my life was in jeopardy. So I went to hospitals because I was railroaded and blacklisted. So I said I'm tired of being on the streets and living like this. So I just went to hospitals when they railroaded me and blacklisted me from all shelter.
Okay.
Nothing was being done about them doing so. So I just said I'm going to live in hospitals since they are doing me this way. But as for the dad, I don't know about what was going on for he stayed away out of our lives for a while. So I don't know what he was living. I know when he had his heart attack or stroke, whatever he had, he changed his life a little bit. So I don't really know. They don't know how I was living, and I don't know how they were living because he was kind of like I don't want to be like a deadbeat dad for a little bit. So he wasn't really a fixed figure in his child's life.
Okay. What were the hospitalizations for specifically?
I don't want to talk about that. I don't think that that's relevant.
Okay. Okay. And then let's see.
She does. So when I talk to these legal aides and all these people on my phone, they just really sabotage assistance and really don't give me any direction on how to combat these issues that I've had to endure years. I just stay stagnant and stuck in the problem.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
So are there any recommendations?
Yeah, so I'll give you I'm going to give you some legal advice here in a second.
Okay.
we've already kind of talked about the criminal issues. You'd have to pursue that through the district attorney's office. So if you think these people have really committed felony offenses, then the DA's office has to get on board to press criminal charges against these individuals. Okay, so that's the first part. Legal aid can't represent you in that part. We don't do criminal cases.
What about civil?
What about what?
Civil.
So we do some civil litigation. It just depends on the facts of the case. We'd have to do an intake with one of our civil attorneys. I don't. What would be your what lawsuit would you want to bring against them civilly?
It's just anything that I would be able to bring up, because, like I said, my ability to get representation and advocacy has been sabotaged. My legal knowledge is limited, so I don't have a lot of education on what I can do. So I'm seeking assistance in a lot of different avenues. It's sabotaged my rights and education. So I kind of want advocacy and direction on the best avenue to take.
Okay. So what I would recommend that you'd have to do a separate intake with us.
Okay.
Because again, I'm only a family law attorney, so I can give you legal advice on the custody and termination issue. But any other issues, you'd have to speak to a different attorney that practices in one of those areas of law.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, as far as reinstating your parental rights, now, are you for certain your rights have been terminated? Because you mentioned supervised visitation.
Well, I wish I can get someone legal to look into it. I don't know what the neglect is. Each avenue I've taken for years, they will not represent me or give me any. I've went to go pay an attorney and they wouldn't do it.
So the final order that you have should state whether your rights have been terminated or whether you still have parental rights.
It says that it was terminated.
They have been terminated?
Yes.
Okay, so at this point...
And when rights are terminated... I'm sorry, go ahead.
After a parent's rights have been terminated, there are ways to get your parental rights reinstated. You just have to meet the legal requirements, okay? And so I'll go through those, and if you have questions, just let me know. But one of the first things... One of the first thing that the law requires is if you're trying to reinstate your parental rights, then CPS cannot have terminated your rights.
They didn't.
So that's one of the legal. There are four legal requirements. One, CPS must not have terminated the right. The child has not been adopted or the subject of an adoption placement. And then the last thing is, if the child is older than 12, then they have to consent to your parental rights being reinstated. Okay? Another requirement is that it has to have been at least 2 years since your rights were terminated. I think you meet that requirement, but what you're going to have an issue with is CPS terminated your rights. And if you still have a relationship with your child and she doesn't consent to your rights being reinstated, you might have an issue. But you still keep in contact with her, so that might not be...
Okay, I'm just really confused. Okay, let me make sure I understand. Okay. So, I'm the legal custodial parent. Someone gets to make false allegations, get me away from my child, what is the word I'm looking for? Brainwash her and do all these different things, and there's absolutely no consequences for me. No consequences and no kind of way that we can look off into the false allegations that were made and get my child custody rights back because false statements were made for her to even get her in the first place. Her dad doesn't have a proper mental capacity. He had a stroke. He's not even taking care of himself because the stepmom has power of attorney over him. And they get to do this with no consequences, and I have to go through hoops, and they racked up felonies, and there's no consequences for that.
I'm not saying there aren't consequences.
Oh, I want to concentrate on false statements being made, the family court racking up felonies, letting someone disappear off the docket for profit. A felony here, a felony there, taking my rights away with not without giving me legal representation, and I've asked multiple times. Putting a judge that no one has ever that I have never met to terminate my child custody rights because Kim Cooks didn't want to risk the felony herself. So they put Mary Murphy up to it, who I have never met. And each time I try to get to the bottom of where she's at, call security on me so they don't get their felony because they feel they're more important. They can rack up felonies because they're judges and have a higher position than I do. I mean, this is years of these felonies, and I'm just at my wit's end.
I just want to. It's my job to give you what the law says.
Well, I'm just kind of. Please forgive me, but for 5 years plus, help has been sabotaged. So when I talk to people, they. I know. I'm just telling. I'm just. How do we combat these crimes?
I'm not here to sabotage you. I promise. I'm here to get the information so that I can.
So what do we do with knowing that they made false statements and this is going on? So what is the game plan with knowing that people have made false statements to a family court to get my child custody rights terminated? What is the game plan when that has happened?
Again, you keep mentioning they have felony charges against them. I can't press felony charges against them.
No, what is the game plan when that has happened? Well, you're talking about getting my rights back and all of this stuff, but you didn't mention the fact that they made false statements to a family court, which is state jail felony. How do I combat the false statements?
There's nothing a family law can do except try to reinstate your rights.
So they get to make false statements to a family court with no consequences.
That's not a family law issue. That's a criminal law issue.
So how do I address to the family court that false statements were made? How do I get addressed to the the family court that I was lied on? How do we address that? I can't.
Are you wanting to pursue? Again, I don't know if I'm answering.
I just don't understand why it's so hard to just say that a lie was committed because making false statements to a family court is a state jail felony.
You're telling me a lie was committed, but I have no documents in front of me other than what.
Oh, you can file. You would have to do is just look into this case. That's why they keep sabotaging my ability to get legal. All you would have to do is look at this case. You see, it has felony written all over it. That's why my legal has been sabotaged. That's why I get pushed and shoved.
If we accept your case, then we would take the steps to do that. So the legal aid, it would actually be the legal aid in Dallas County. Have you contacted the legal aid in Dallas County?
I think I'm not being heard because you told me about the steps that I needed to take. You said that my daughter would have to be consenting and all of these things, and I reminded you that crimes have been committed to take my child custody rights away, and I wanted to concentrate on that, and we haven't. I think that it's a pretty big deal that multiple parties made false statements.
I've given you the information. I don't think it's what you want to hear at this point. I'm trying to tell you what the law says. The law
okay. So even though they made false statements, the family court, we don't address that to the family court. We just go ahead and try to get my rights go the long way around. We don't address to anyone that false statements were made. That is not addressed to anyone, the family court or anyone. We go the long way around, and we have to hold.
So if you're wanting to use that information that they made false statements and committed crimes, you have to go to the DA's office to press criminal charges.
And
I'm not a criminal law attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm a family law attorney. I cannot bring criminal charges against
no, I just want to communicate to the family court that false statements were made. I haven't been able to do it 5 years plus. I everywhere I go, I cannot tell they're keeping this lie going. How do I communicate to?
You can bring that to the court's attention when you're trying to reinstate your rights.
Okay.
You can allege that they made all of these false allegations when you petition the court to reinstate your rights. But you have to meet the legal requirements to reinstate your rights.
Okay, I meet them.
In order to do that, your rights cannot have been terminated by DFPS or CPS Your child has to consent to your rights being reinstated. If she's over the age of 12,
well, see, she's in an abusive situation. She's in an abusive situation, and CPS and the police department has covered for it. So I don't know if what she'll consent to. There's been abuse there. And police, and like I said, the police department and CPS is covered for the abuse she's experienced.
So it just so that you're aware, I understand what you're saying, but it is a legal requirement. It is one of the legal requirements that has to be addressed if you're trying to reinstate your rights. It's what the law requires.
So you don't think they'll take in consideration that she's in an abusive situation and she's been hit? You don't think that that'll be pertinent information that can get my rights reestablished and false statements that were made?
No, I'm not saying that it's not information that would be helpful. Again, you can definitely bring that to the court's attention. But if CPS terminated your rights...
They did not. They did not terminate my rights. I'm not being heard. I would like to concentrate on the fact that false statements were made. If we could, I'm not an attorney, but I think that that's very pertinent that false statements were made to terminate my rights as a parent. I'm not an attorney, but how can we concentrate on relaying that to the individuals to get something done? Why do I have to go through all these hoops and someone lied on me, committed crimes to take my child away from me? Why can't I just inform someone of that? It's obvious lies and slander.
If you want to reinstate your rights, DFPS had to have terminated your rights. The child does not have been adopted. The child has to consent. If she's older than 12, at least 2 years have passed since your rights are terminated, and then there are no pending appeals for that termination order. Okay? So those are the steps you have to take to ask the court to reinstate your parental rights. At that point, when you file that petition, is where you bring all of this information to the court's attention. The allegations that people have made false statements against you, your allegations that people have surveilled and tracked you over the years, all of the allegations that you're telling me is the information that you then use when you're trying to reinstate your parental rights.
Well, ma'am, I just really hope, I'm just going to pray, all I can do is just put the information out there and hope. I know that there's good people out there that will be appalled at the level of power that has been abused, and people that are corrupt, how much power they've been allowed to abuse. So I'll just put that out there in the environment and just hope that, something is done. Because like I said, my child is 8. She's now 14 priceless years that we've been robbed of. Okay.
So you just mentioned that CPS did not terminate your rights. Did CPS terminate your rights?
No. They were in on the docket, and the family court allowed them to disappear, which I thought was felonies. You just can't let them disappear so they don't get their felony charge. But they did. They were there. They had terminated my rights. He didn't follow the family code and made some multiple different mistakes, so he just disappeared off the docket. So now so it looks like my rights were terminated with no CPS investigation because they messed up. And they're still getting away with it.
Who filed to terminate your rights? Was it CPS?
It was CPS. His name was James Hastings. He came to the jail when I was in jail on false charges, tormented me, harassed me. He said, I'm taking your daughter away. He would terrorize me, tell me all the time, I'm taking your daughter away, multiple times. Tormented me, coming up to the jail.
If CPS filed the petition to terminate your rights?
No, CPS disappeared. I'm not being heard, ma'am. CPS did, but they disappeared. They made a mistake. So CPS...
I don't understand what you mean.
They're corrupt. CPS terminated my rights. Okay. But when they made a mistake to where he could get a felony charge, so then they disappeared.
Did they disappear when the case ended?
No,
Is
they
that what you mean by
disappeared
disappeared?
in the when I showed when I wrote the FBI in jail on false charges, and I told the FBI that they can see look at the literature that the what I had wrote to CPS and what I had wrote to the family court, gather all that documentation, and you can see that there were people are committing crimes, and it was like 30 or 40 lies in his administrative review. When I wrote that letter to the Waco FBI, then they disappeared off the docket because they lied to the family court. And I wrote a whole bunch of. They said that I wrote things in the letter to them that I didn't. So all they would have to do is pull the letters that I wrote to them in jail, and then look at what they put in the administrative review. That's how they got caught in lies. So the Waco FBI
Okay.
wouldn't investigate it. So when the Waco FBI they denied the investigation, James Hastings and multiple other conspirators disappeared off the docket, the family court docket.
So is the case pending, or the case out of Waco?
No, the FBI. I went to
Why did
the
you
Waco
contact
FBI. They
FBI in
called.
Waco?
The police came and interrupted me from trying to incriminate Waco FBI for not investigating, because that's pertinent information if they were lying on me. But the
Why,
Waco
why did you
FBI
contact
police,
Waco FBI instead of Dallas FBI?
because it was in Waco.
What was in Waco?
I lived in Itasca, Texas, with my daughter.
So y'all lived in Waco when your rights were terminated?
I was close. The Waco FBI was closer. Yes, the Hill County. It was Hillsborough CPS that terminated my rights. And then when they got caught
So
in all the lies,
the
then they
order
disappeared.
is not out of Dallas County then.
I'm sorry.
Your final order terminating your rights, is it out of Waco County or McLennan County, or is it
I'm
out
not.
of
I guess
Dallas
you're not
County?
understanding. They disappeared. They completely removed them from the docket so they would not be caught in lies. When I wrote the Waco FBI, which is closer to Itasca where we live, all of it disappeared. So now they're non-existent. It does. You don't see the Waco, the Hill County CPS worker. You don't see the teacher that lied.
Okay. All right. So, I've gone over
So
the
then, but here's the
questions.
thing: when you lie, it don't make sense. Now, if they had to terminate my rights and say I neglected my child when didn't even have access to her, because they let the CPS worker and all of them disappear. So that's why they don't give me a date range of when I neglected it. That's why they didn't give me an attorney, because it has felonies written all over it. That's why they're doing it this way, because
Okay.
they're getting caught in lies.
Okay. Okay. So I've gone over the legal requirements for you to reinstate your rights. I can send this information to you in an email so that you can look at it and read through it. If that works for you. The next step for us is I'll present your case, like I stated earlier, to our staffing committee, and we'll decide if we can accept your case. Okay, now we mail that decision to you. So it's going to go to the mailing address we have on file for you. Okay, our process does take about 2 to 3 weeks. I see that you want email only. Okay, so we'll send that decision to you.
I didn't say I want to email only. I didn't say that.
Oh, so there's a note here that you. So the 400 Cypress Street.
I was on the phone with CPS on hold. It says that if you have made false statements to the family court or CPS, it could adjust the custody agreements. If they made false statements to a family court, it can change the custody agreement.
Okay, is that a question?
I'm informing you that's what it said. So if it said that when I was on hold, if a party has been it said that making false statements to a family court and CPS is a crime, and in doing so, it can change your custody agreement.
Okay.
So if making false statements to a family court is a state jail felony and can change your custody agreement, Why with me is this not happening for all this time? How do you get to this magic place of actually getting something done when people are making false statements slandering you? How do I have to go to how? I mean, I don't understand with an attorney how we can't just communicate to the court these are false statements, and then the court do the right thing and give them their charges.
As I said, when you file your petition to get your parental rights reinstated.
But you said my child that my daughter has to be in agreement with it. She has been in a physically abusive household.
She does have to agree to it. The law says your daughter must consent if she's over the age of 12.
If they're not letting me talk to her, period, I don't know. I can't text her, can't talk to her, and she told me she was hit, and the police and CPS covered for it. It's just really sick. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll be in touch with you. I have another intake I have to jump on, but I'm going to send over this information to you to your email address. Let me make sure I have a good email address